Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War mod review, this time covering Divide et Impera, which is a mod of Rome 2. Now, this might be the last mod review that I do, purely because I'm finding it incredibly difficult to do these mods these days. At the end of the day, I don't really do a lot of mods. I don't play my Total War games with a lot of mods. And spending a lot of time on these mods, I'm finding it's not actually improving my enjoyment of the game. It's soaking up a lot of my time, and these, I don't know if I'm the best person to be giving, like, doing a mod review every fortnight. So I have played a fair bit of Divide et Impera, so I feel like it is something that I can talk about, but I am questioning whether or not I should stop doing these. So do let me know what you think in the comments below about whether you think I'm doing a good job, whether or not you're enjoying these mod reviews, because I am seriously questioning my competency when doing these mod reviews at this stage. So we'll see how we go, but I'm just letting you guys know that basically my confidence is completely shaken when it comes to doing this, and this might be the last one that I do. We'll see how we go though. Anyway, talking about Divide et Impera, this is a difficult one to do because in my understanding of mods is this. If you don't like the base game, mods don't fix it. Don't fix the base game. Okay. Divide et Impera is not a totally new game. This is still Rome 2, and as many of you guys know, I don't like Rome 2. I don't find it enjoyable. I think it's got a lot of issues, and I just don't find it fun. I've put in 2,000 hours into the game, and that might be part of the problem. It just doesn't feel exciting for me anymore. But when I played Divide et Impera, those 2,000 hours that I'd already put into Rome 2 didn't just wash away. It didn't feel like a whole new game. I was just like, oh yeah, this is like Rome 2, but slower. Now, as I've said, Divide et Impera is an amazing mod. Sorry, if you already love Rome 2, so if you're already enjoying Rome 2 to various degrees, Divide et Impera is probably a good mod for you to play. But if you are one of the many people out there that, quite frankly, are disgusted with Rome 2, Divide et Impera is probably going to waste your time, because at the end of the day, the modders are only able to do so much. I think they've done an amazing job, but they can't turn a 5 out of 10 game into a 10 out of 10 game. They just can't. The mod tools just aren't there. So I would say that they turn a 5 out of 10 game into a 6 or 7 out of 10 game, which is pretty damn good. But it doesn't make Rome 2 any less unenjoyable for those of us who don't enjoy Rome 2, because this game is not universally loved by the community, and I think it's important to state that. Anyway, let's talk about what it does. Okay, for those of you who are still interested. So with Rome 2, you got loads of different factions you can choose from. Most of them are more or less the same, just reskinned copies of another. And I think the main thing that is added by Divide et Impera is this sort of Indian faction, Samarich Muria. I don't expect me to pronounce this stuff. I never heard of it before. So that's really unique to Divide et Impera. So I think they did a great job with that. It's the only Indian faction available in Total War Rome 2, as far as I'm aware of. Anyway, another thing is that it pushes back the start date to 278 BC. In vanilla, the start date is 272. Another thing is that on the Grand Campaign, it doesn't use the Grand Campaign map. It uses the Imperator Augustus campaign map, because even though it's the same size, there's more settlements in the Imperator Augustus campaign. It's the largest map in Rome 2 of its DLC campaigns. Anyway, let's go into the campaign map, and I'll showcase a little bit more about what it changes. Alright, so I've just jumped into a campaign that I played as the Romans, where I played towards victory conditions, so I've pretty much created the Roman Empire here. So, one of the biggest overhauls that this did, and I'm very impressed that they were able to do this, and something that Rome 2 and Total War games really do need, is population, and they've done an amazing job with it. Now, of course, we do have to realize that it's a workaround. The game, it's only really there for the player. The AI doesn't, from my experience, doesn't utilize the population. So whilst it's great that they were able to introduce it, on the other hand, the AI doesn't recognize it, because they can't change that about the AI, and so it's really just a restriction on the player rather than being an actual mechanic. So it's good and bad at the same time. Definitely think it's good they put it in. So the way it works Okay, so because previously, in just base Rome 2, you just had population growth in your settlements. When you get a certain amount of population growth, you can expand the city. But there, you raise a city to the ground, or you hit, sack a city. Nobody dies. When you recruit units, nobody is actually recruited. You can just recruit as long as you've got money. But in this, it's not the case. There's a certain amount of population that you can draw from for recruiting and taxes, and you can see they've all got different effects. Okay, so they've got patrician, plebs, proles, and peregrinis. So I think proles are proles are the lowest class, but I think the peregrinis are like foreigners. I'm not entirely certain about that. Now, depending on what unit that you recruit, depends on what you recruit from. So if you have a look here, these require 100 patricians to recruit the equites singularis. And if you want to recruit cohors evocata, 200 plebs are required. And if you run out of plebs, not enough manpower. So that's something that wasn't available in vanilla Rome 2. That is a sort of a feature in Dividend and Impera. But again, the problem is that it's more of a restriction rather than a feature, because the AI are not hindered by such restrictions. And sometimes the game just sort of doesn't give you back your manpower properly when you cancel it. So if you have a look here, that's not the same number we had before. So it doesn't work perfectly, but they did the best that they could. So they're not going to lose any points off that. I personally would like to. I prefer to see a mechanic that's 90% good and 10% buggy than no mechanic at all. So I really got to give them praise for that. That's probably one of the biggest things they introduced into Dividend and Impera, and I really can't give them enough praise for it. They did an amazing job, and it might be one of the reasons that we're actually starting to see population return in Total War 3 Kingdoms. Anyway, so what else does it change? Not a whole lot. Okay, so politics still works exactly the same way. It's still, again, if you've played Rome 2, you know what it is. I really this isn't a Rome 2 review, so I don't want to go in and explain how Rome 2 works. If you don't know how Rome 2 works, then you're probably not ready to play Dividend and Impera, because it is much more difficult than the base game. On that note as well, if you're looking for pure enjoyment, don't play on Legendary difficulty, okay? I made the mistake of playing on Legendary difficulty. Now, whilst I could handle it, it's about as fun as beating your head on a rock, okay? It's challenging, but not fun. Playing on lower difficulties, whilst not being as challenging, is a lot more fun, because you get that depth without seeing the AI being able to spawn an entire stack in like a single turn constantly. It can get a bit frustrating with that. Anyway, so with the politics system, I do think they made some things a little bit better, going back into it. There's been various changes that keep happening, various rebalancing, and it's hard to keep on top of it. But one thing that I always do is, increase the ranks of the women, because they reduce the empire corruption. They used to have it at, when you get to matron, at -5%, but I guess they reduced that to 1%, which makes sense, because I had 0% corruption the entire campaign. Even with this, we're only at 5.9%, which is not that much. But then again, there's a lot of promoted women in this. Now, one thing that I've noticed as the campaign progressed to this point, requiring this many people in the politics things, it slowed down the game considerably. It made things choke a lot. When you get to this point in the campaign, I know a lot of people criticize Total War, especially with Warhammer 2, with end turn times. The end turn times on this get very, very long. Okay, so that is something to consider going into this. Vanilla, it goes through way quicker. Now that's obviously because the AI have a lot more armies, they have a lot more things to think about, a lot more things to do, and so it just takes longer for it to process. And as the game progresses to this point here, which is 200 turns into the campaign, there's a lot to process. So, if you're looking for a long campaign, but you also, want short turn times, you're not going to get that with this. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about are, I guess, the military units in the game. This is probably another thing that they've the biggest changes that they've made. So I'm currently sitting on the Augustan reforms as the Romans, and every faction, I believe, more or less has some sort of reform. They've all got pretty in-depth army rosters. It's not like all you can recruit is spear levies right off the start. There's a pretty in-depth. There's a lot more units to recruit from in in Divide and Impera. And another thing as well, I guess to make it a bit more challenging and make it so that it's just not, you know, hop from settlement to settlement, every settlement does have a pretty significant garrison in there. Most of the time, at least for the player, these garrisons aren't going to cut it to defend against an army. But, you know, they'll repel a half stack. Depends on how well you use them. I mean, there's only so much you can do with like, Italian swordsmen when they go up against, you know, pikemen. There's only so much you can do. At the end of the day, Rome 2 is very stat-based. Even if you surround certain units and, you know, use fire arrows, kill the enemy general, some units will just fight to the death. And there's just nothing you can do about that. Another problem I sort of have with Rome 2. There's just a lot of units that just have no interest in routing, so tactics become a little bit of an issue. So agents work exactly the same. You know, no point going on to, well, not exactly the same, I guess. There's a lot more governors to begin with, and they're more for increasing the tax rates and reducing corruption for your. So governors are basically very useful, more so than in vanilla. The politics system with this as well, there's penalties for going up here, whereas in vanilla it's not the case. And that's pretty much all it really changes. I mean, there's different buildings, but if you're familiar with Rome 2 vanilla, I mean, you'll be able to pick this up pretty much immediately. You'll understand how it works. They're not able to change the number of build slots. It really does come down to, on the campaign map, this is what Divide and Impera changes. Gives you population in your settlements, has an effect that applies to you, and gives you an overhaul on how your armies are recruited. And that's about it. Those are the real fundamental change. Everything else is just really little bits and pieces, value changing, you know, making legionaries less powerful, making pikemen more powerful, that kind of stuff. And, you know, making missile units less powerful. It's very much melee focused as well. There's not a whole lot of archer units, at least from my time playing on legendary difficulties, that are really that effective, especially considering infantry units, you know, oftentimes go up to 300 or 400 men, and archer units have about 175 men, so they just don't have enough ammunition to really impact the battle. Artillery seems to be pretty good for the most part, so overall I think the battles are pretty well balanced, and the AI is about as competent as it is in Rome 2. Anyway, let's jump into a battle now, and I'll showcase what it's like a little bit more. Alright, so I've set up a custom battle over here, because on the campaign map it would have taken too long. Just a fairly small battle, because we're not trying to showcase, you know, my skills or anything like that. Just get a basic idea. The battle difficulty is only on normal difficulty. This is just so you get an idea of the pacing, whilst it's, you know, on normal. So I've got a pretty small army here. Cohorts Prima, a few legionaries, some Triario, a few spears. Got the Cohorts Sagittario over here. A couple of cavalry on the side here, some equities. Get a bit of a look in on the unit models. This is something that is often lost with me. I've just failed to check this stuff a lot of the time. But if you guys want to get a quick look and decide, you know, because some people, you know, graphics is probably more important than gameplay. It's not with me, but I just forget about this sometimes. Forget to showcase how the units look. So have a bit of a look, and, you know, honestly, I don't even know if it's changed from vanilla, because I just don't check this stuff very often. It definitely looks good. But anyway, so looking at the enemy army over here, they've got some pike units. Pike units come in groups of 256. They got some phalanx units over here. Well, actually, that was not. There's some melee infantry. Here are the phalanx units over here. So again, have a bit of a look. If you like the unit models, great. If not, I don't really know what else to say when it comes to unit models. And they got some cavalry, and I believe they got some archers as well. I gave them a slightly larger army than me. They've got one additional unit, but I think their archers are just hidden at the moment. Anyway, let's move in. Basically, what I want to do here is just get these guys into the melee and see, and just get an idea for how fast the combat goes. It is significantly slower than vanilla, though. Yeah, they got some. Yeah, they're archers. Okay. So let's just get them up there. Alright, so these are Cretan Arches. So what I'll do here, since we're on the attack, I'm going to march my infantry up right in front of them. So I'm just using the arrow keys to line them up there, if you didn't know how to do that.
Missiles awaiting targets. Missiles ready and waiting.
Now I'm going to feign an attack here with the cavalry. I have no intention of actually attacking them. All I want to do is get their archers to move backwards.
Swift melee cavalry and for glory.
There we go. That worked.
Ready. Double time. Ready and waiting. Ready. Forward. Orders.
Now we want to be using the archers to take out the heavy phalanx. We do not want to be taking phalanx units.
Our general is under attack.
Attacking them head on. No way do we want to be doing that.
General. Archers.
So a little bit of a skirmish will happen to begin with. Nothing major. So I want to use my cavalry to assist the spearmen, because their cavalry is better than ours. Yeah, there's still collision issues, of course. It's still Rome too, as I said. Okay, keep them back. We do not want to be going into melee with pikemen. Pikemen are very strong in this. And also what we've done there is to create a gap in the center for our archers to be able to shoot a lot more efficiently.
Orders! Commander! Orders! Order and wait! Engage! General! Equites!
So the balance of power is actually not in our favor at the moment.
Missile infantry at your command!
So this guy's taking a fair bit of damage. But I'm pretty confident I can turn this around.
Your orders, Commander!
I need you back over here. I'm sure he'll handle the rest of that because he's taking a lot of damage.
As you command. Missiles awaiting targets. Archers! At the double! Jupiter gives us strength. Forward! General!
They're coming charging in over here. It's no big deal. They're just... They're not melee cav, so they're not going to do that much damage. Also in this, I've noticed that missile units do fight a lot better in melee, well, at least in terms of melee defense-wise, than they do with their vanilla counterparts.
General! Archers! Missile infantry at your command. General! Advance!
Also, the abilities, they've only got limited number of uses, whereas in vanilla, you know, once it's recharged, you can just use it as many times as you want. And there's usually some penalty after it's been used. So that actually kind of makes the abilities not worth doing a lot of the time as well. Because, like, regardless of whatever ability you use, it pretty much exhausts the unit right after you use it. So oftentimes I find I just don't even end up using it. Or that if I do use it, it just doesn't really do a whole lot anyway. So it really just makes it micro-intensive for no reason. Or for very little gain. So oftentimes I just don't even worry about it. Now, funny thing is, we're doing really well at the moment, but I actually, if I had to compare Macedon to Rome, I'd actually say Macedon's stronger. It's just that we outplayed them.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Because their strongest units are the pikes, and the pikes haven't had a good chance to do anything, because they did a lot of damage to this guy, but I pulled them out of the combat and, you know, shot them. They sacrificed their cavalry against our spearmen. You know, like I said, the AI is not any better than vanilla, so if anyone tells you otherwise, they're just wrong. But morale... The battles are a lot slower. You can see what's going on here. Like, well, not much. That's what's going on. And this is on normal difficulty. When you play it on very hard difficulty, the battles, it's a real slow to get them to break. Okay, they're out of ammo. How many kills did they get? See, they didn't even kill one man each. So it's sort of like what I was saying before, where the archers kind of don't really do their worth. And these are, you know, good archers. So it is very heavily melee infantry focused. Cavalry do play a good part in it as well.
General!
But most of the damage will be done by melee infantry.
Missile infantry and waiting.
And if we kill the enemy general, it won't make any real difference to whether or not they're going to rout. So bounce of power is probably a little bit in our favour now. Just a little bit. So yeah, there's a bunch of different things as well. Like with the battles, with archers, you can actually have them concentrate fire, like fire at the ground. That's very good. Not something that you really need to do a lot, but no other Total War game has got that. You know, for basic archers.
For glory! Wide wedge formation! Equity! Very cavalry ready!
So they're going toe to toe with Triarii there, and we're getting them, but like I said, it's a lot slower. If it was vanilla, spearmen just wreck cavalry in a matter of seconds. Yeah, we did break him though. That wouldn't have happened on legendary difficulty. They wouldn't have broken.
The enemy general is dead.
And as I've said, killing the enemy general, even though this unit was already wavering. Oh, there we go. He actually shattered. Well, the battle's won. But hopefully that gives you a bit of an indication about how different the two different army types is with Dividend and Impera, but also the pacing on this campaign on normal battle difficulty. Was played on.
The battle is turning in our
Because I
favor.
played, was it EB2 on very hard difficulty, and people were complaining, oh, you're not supposed to play it on very hard difficulty. Alright, fine. I'm just used to always playing things on very hard difficulty. So. Let's let this be done. Cool. And that's the general gist of how the battles go on that. So anyway, that's pretty much all I've got to say about Dividend et Impera. Again, just in summary, I think it's an amazing mod. I really do. If you love Rome 2, you'll love Dividend et Impera, most likely, as long as you don't like it too slow paced. But if you're not really into Rome 2, this is still Rome 2. And that's why, even though I can look at it objectively and say it's a very good mod, they've done a very good job of it, I still don't have any desire really to play it. It's not their fault, it's purely because it's just Rome 2. But, I don't want to be banging on more about Rome 2. But it is important to separate the two. That Dividend et Impera is not Rome 2, but it just builds on top of it. Anyway, that's the end of this mod review. Let me guys know what you think, whether or not you think I'm doing a good job with these mod reviews, because I don't know if I am. And maybe we'll do another one, maybe not, we'll see. Anyway, see you next time, fuckers.